Hello, hello. Here's Aage again coming to you from Broadcast Team Alpha with the Paranormal World Show underneath it that we are going to do tonight. We're going to have a very interesting talk because we're going to talk about the alien presence and their agendas, what they do, and maybe a little bit about how they do. Because we have Gil Carlson returning to Broadcast Team Alpha. And before I go more into Gil Carlson, I want to also let you know that we are transmitting on 44 different platforms, and one of them is just as I was doing here a couple of days ago, I was on there as a guest host at Conscious Awakening Network. Conscious Awakening Network's got close to 50 different shows on it. Got to go over there and visit them. Go to YouTube and go to Conscious Awakening Network, and you'll see them all there. They're coming in a row down there. So go have a look. I think you're going to really enjoy it. And also, if you want to get a hold of me or Nori, go to broadcastteamalpha.com, send us a message, and we will get the message and we'll get back to you. So now we have Gil Carlson back with us, and he's an incredible guy. He's written 42 books about all the stuff you are not supposed to know about. That would be UFOs, aliens, and he gets into a little bit of exopolitics and many other things. So we can have some fun here. Yes, welcome to the show, Gil.
Thank you, Aage.
Yeah, you have written 42 books, man, oh man. And we are going to talk, there was one of them that was The Great Reset and the Alien Agenda. That would be, we'll probably get into other things, but this one is really something that opens up the can of worms that the governments don't like open. They would like to slap the lid on that one as fast as possible, and I just happen to have the book, and here it is. And the Great Reset, yep, there you go. And the Alien Agenda. Now, Gil, I don't know where you want to start with this, but there's so much in it. I guess I'll just let you loose and then we'll see what happens.
Yes, hello, everyone. This is Gil coming to you from an undisclosed location where I'm hiding out for years, writing all these crazy books and keeping my head down and trying to stay out of trouble. Like Aage said, there's 42 books, and I hate to brag, but there's some amazing books. And I think this one we're talking about tonight is even more amazing. It started out with the book before this, which was The Great Reset Exposed, which explained everything about what the Great Reset is doing to us. And then this book, The Alien Agenda, kind of takes over from there, describing what how the aliens are taking advantage of this. But very soon, Auggie's going to be throwing some questions at me. But first, I want to throw a question at him. My readers, I don't have very many readers, I think, that read my books for entertainment. They read my books to learn things. Most of my readers are well educated on this subject, have done a lot of research, and they're looking for more information they can't find elsewhere. One of my readers in London emailed me the other day, and he had a question for me. And his question was, he was just talking, always saying nice things about my all the information and everything else. And he asked if there was, involving the aliens, if there was one key thing that I could pick out that would actually prove their existence. And I've been puzzling over this thing for a while now, and I'm going to throw it at you tonight, Aage.
Well, I think we can say, yes, there is. Do you remember Art Bell?
Definitely.
On his website, coasttocoastam.com, he had a little section called Art's Parts. There were people, I think there were 2 different people that have sent him parts of metals that was found at a UFO crash. And there were pictures of them. And those parts, they were not that big. They were just, the biggest one was probably about that big around. But there were layers of exotic metals, and they were formed and created in a way, first of all, the experts, that the metallurgists that looked this over, they say they don't know and understand how this could be created. The metal could not be created on Earth. It had to be created in vacuum. In other words, in space. And there were several different metals in those layers. One of the metals did not exist here. I think that is a puzzle that cannot be gotten around. That came from somewhere else in space. And then again, there is a panel on the wall in Abydos, Egypt, in that temple. I forget the name of the temple. Not too sure I even knew what it was. It's just a temple in Abydos. And on that panel, there's a carving of the perfect outline of a helicopter. There's an outline of a perfect outline of a kind of like a flying car. You know, back then, they made a lot of carvings in stone, but they did that on the basis of things that they saw. They saw a helicopter. So don't tell me the dark side of government have a way to travel in time. They do. And here is another one I really love to show you. I can share screen. Let me share screen with you so we can have a look at this, because when you see this, you're going to understand the alien.
Okay.
Okay.
Actually, that was a good answer to my reader in London. I was trying to figure out one thing, and the only thing I could come up with was everything in general. The aliens have always been here. They probably had a part in creating us and everything else, and they've always been here, and they've always been a part of it. And I was told once that the aliens are us and we are them. And
yeah, at least part of them, or some part of the races of them, because there are several races of them too. Hey, we got Chinese, we got white pasty, white folks like me, and then we got a black race. And then there was the blue race of India that is no longer here, but they're on the moon.
There's also a blue race of aliens.
Yeah.
And I had one other idea for my reader in London, that one proof would be that the aliens, or excuse me, the government claims aliens don't exist.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there's probably some government officials standing nearby them who are actually aliens. Because now it's coming out, there are a lot of aliens that look just like us, and we can't tell them apart. So, but anyway, let's get on with this book. There's so much in here, and it's be difficult to really touch on much of it, but I want to bring up a couple of the chapters and a little bit of information. One of the things I've done is chapter 1, which is an introduction to this book. I tell a lot about my history, my communications with aliens, and how since maybe since I was a teenager, they started telling me things that what I was going to do later in life. And they gave me messages like I needed to protect the blood. And they also saved my life on a number of occasions. And then 3 years ago, they woke me up in the middle, or not in the middle, it was like 6 o'clock in the morning, and put me into a trance. And they started explaining about something that was going to happen to me very soon that would change my whole life around. But I would recover it from it, and my life would be better afterwards. Later that morning, I came down with, I had to go to the ER. I had an infection that had spread throughout my body, and it was eating away at my spine. And they had to take me in for emergency back surgery and a couple of other things. And I remember the next morning in the hospital, the surgeon came in, and of course I was like connected to everything. I was in bad shape. And I remember the expression on his face, like he was surprised I was still alive. And but I got through all that, and they were definitely right about that. But let's get on with the book. Okay, in chapter 2, it's called "Are Aliens and Their Flying Craft Real? Is there any proof?" Well, you just gave me some proof there, but there's several things. One of the things, which is proof for me, in 1963, I was in the Army at Fort Sam Houston, Texas. And several of us met in this field to get ready for the next assignment. And we noticed there was a UFO slightly above us and over to the right, very close and very low. And it was cigar shaped. And it had different colored lights going around. And it just stood there, very close to us. And we probably could have walked over and touched it. And it did not move. It did not move and made no sound. It was perfectly still for a long time. I don't think the government had anything like that at that time. And then later, the local paper the next day had an article on a UFO being seen around town.
Wow.
Okay.
How big was it? How long was it?
Oh, it's kind of hard to say. I would say maybe like 3 cars end to end. Another proof, I think, is that aliens were involved in our creation.
Yeah.
And throughout all of our history. And they've been continuously upgrading our DNA. Yeah. And plus there have been religious and mythological accounts of ancient encounters with advanced beings. And similar to what you just showed in Germany, one of my books, I got too damn many books, it's hard to keep track of what's what, but one of my books I show some ancient artwork going back to maybe like the time of Jesus, and showing in the background UFOs in these paintings. Something was going on there.
Yeah. Yeah, the old painters, the artists, they saw something.
Oh, definitely. Another thing here is what you had just mentioned about artifacts being discovered, and that contained superior technology from thousands of years ago, and trace samples are recovered from UFOs, especially at Roswell, and that's your answer there. And there's government documents and whistleblowers acknowledging the existence of them, and also abduction cases that include multiple witnesses and memories recalled without hypnosis, and along with physical and medical evidence confirming these accounts. And let's go over here to chapter 4.
Yeah,
Alien is fighting for control over the human race, which is similar to what you just mentioned. And these wars of the gods go back a long ways. Wasn't there something about the wars even blew up a planet? Was that Tiamat?
Yeah, that Maldek, yeah.
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 And one of the things I've got in here in my book is that our planet has been under the control of alien forces since the beginning. They're referred to as gods, angels, demons, spirit forces, or supreme creators.
Yeah, back then, when you saw someone like that, let's say somebody show up and he's lit up like a light bulb, of course that had to be a god.
Yes.
Yeah.
And and there's been, in my mind, it's still kind of hard to figure out what. There's good aliens and bad aliens, but overall, I see something of positive experience here with them. And chapter 5, aliens in our best interest, I bring out a lot of that information. I mean, they've constantly been upgrading us and made it so we could, the environment was positive for us. They even positioned the moon so that we could survive on Earth. That was covered in my Aliens on the Moon book.
Yeah.
And I believe they're making changes to us to make us closer to becoming light beings, similar to the aliens.
Yeah, we are being upgraded now, both from our own internal upgrading through our own consciousness, as well as outside from the spike of energy coming out from the central sun of the black hole in the middle of this galaxy. And we are in that spike now, and some people call it the photon belt, and that's probably close to the truth because they're all photons. So we are in it, and as long as we are going through it, we have a constant upgrade to higher vibration because we take on the vibration from that photon belt. And when we are passing through it, we have the chance to advance to a higher level of existence. That's, some people call it the fifth dimensional existence, and I guess that's probably okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's covered, of course, in another book, my Alien DNA book, how we have alien DNA in us, and things that are probably to be upgraded in the future that aren't even being used right now in our DNA.
Yeah.
And there's it's So I can't see the aliens that are in control of our planet being negative or out to attack us or destroy us or anything like that. There might be other outside forces of aliens who may want to come in, but I mean, if they wanted to do us harm, they could have done it a long time ago. And there's another interesting thing about, see, I've got a book I wrote, of course, called Conversation with Aliens, where I keep track of messages from them from all different sources. And one of them that always intrigued me was when people are abducted, sometimes they're told things by these aliens. Not too often, but I always try to look for those and find it fascinating. And here's one. Let me quote one. It's a woman who was involved in an alien abduction, and she protested that they had no right to do this. And the aliens replied they actually did have permission. Now, that has puzzled me. Where did they get the permission from?
Well, let's then think about what are they? What are we? Within this holographic projection of our existence, there is a connection. They may be having the understanding that we are one. I'm not so sure if, in my mind, that would give them permission to do something to me, because I have my own expression of myself. Because we are one at our core of consciousness. That's kind of like, if you go out in the woods, there are trees out there that they could be a whole bunch of trees, but underground they have a common root system. So if they have a common root system, they are actually the same plant. It's just that they have above ground different expressions of that same plant. What if we are the same? We have a common universal consciousness or soul essence at the core of everything. And then we have us are just sparks of life that is put out there to be expressed as we are and learn and grow, so the soul essence can have experiences in the physical to bring home, so the universal mind can learn. Because, call it God if you like, God doesn't have a physical body, so it's difficult for them to have physical experiences unless they get those experiences through us. Now, this is my theory, and I'm sticking to it. So
that makes sense. Here's one thing I want to cover. Chapter 6 in the book was War of Independence, which is kind of timely. This was I don't want to say crazy, but weird things happen to me. They tell me things. My alien, I call them my little alien friends. They put messages in my head and they tell me things. And sometimes it's like, I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? And this happened about this time last year. I remember it was a few days after the 4th of July. And I received this message from them. And they said, why do you celebrate a war in which it was the aliens that were the victors? And that puzzled me. I was like, what are they talking about? No, it was the patriots, the Americans that fought off the British for independence. And so I started looking things up. And I discovered some interesting things that really hasn't come out, I guess. I discovered that George Washington was crediting his victory on help from the aliens. And it was recorded in his diary that aliens helped him to turn things around at Valley Forge as he was ready to give up, and made it possible for his army to enter New Jersey, which was a turning point in the war.
Yeah.
Um,
That's where the fog came when they went across the river.
yeah. The Delaware River, crossing the Delaware, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that even the architect that laid out the design for Washington, D.C., credited it to direct alien influence. So it looks like these aliens had a vested interest in creating America, and making sure it survived and prospered. So was this a benefit for us or a benefit for them? What was that all about? And thinking this over, I came up with two possibilities. One, that they want to demonstrate to a world full of clueless humans how a government and a way of life that they envisioned could be so much more successful than the and no longer needed royal families and dictators. And the second possibility is that the aliens needed more than just an underground base as a foothold on this planet. They needed their own country to operate in, a country based on freedom, which would allow them to operate freely and undiscovered. And also, I discovered there's a stargate encoded in the dome of the nation's capital, and a flying disc appearing in a painting of George Washington.
Yeah.
Very fascinating stuff, but I don't know. It's just
Yeah, they've been around here too a very long time.
and I'm sure that they had a part in running the government, and possibly the secret government, but they were involved in our government from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was, there were most of the founders of this country and later officials were Masons. And I'm sure the aliens were operating through the Masonic lodges or things like that.
Could be.
But
I'm sure they were involved where the action was, where things happened. Things were made to happen. They got their finger in it. That's very likely.
I also have I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just got a wild story, so you go ahead.
There's also a chapter in my book on the creation of the hybrid race, and how it's getting to the point where they're creating hybrids which are very similar to us, except they may have a alien soul and be loyal to their superior aliens. Just something to think about.
That could very well happen. I guess we are after the bottom of the hour here. I want to say, for those of you that joined us late, we are talking with Gil Carlson, that has written 42 books on aliens, UFOs, and everything related. And if you want to have a look at all these books, go to Amazon.com and put his name in, and all these books will show up. I guess, except for one that they didn't like, so they took it down. Yeah. So anyway, I think you got about 41 books out there, so that is available on Amazon. So go have a look at those books.
Great books too.
Yeah.
I say so myself.
Yeah.
And actually, I always run a special deal for your listeners. So if they decided to go to Amazon and buy this book, I've reduced the price for the next couple of days.
Good deal. All right.
It's
No, that was
I
just
want
my. Go ahead, continue.
no, I want to get everybody to read my book, not just so I can make the money, but there's a lot of great stuff out there, and that's been my whole thing all this time, was just to get this information out there.
Well, I noticed something when I started. I got several of them, quite a few of them actually, and I've been around the UFO issues since I was about that tall, and I think I know a few things about it. But when I started studying what you've written about, you dug up things that I have no clue about. So for the researchers out there, it is an information trove of things that is hard to find a lot of places. So go have a look at it.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I cover several different chapters on the on abductions and the hybrids and things like that. I'm just kind of skipping around here, but one of the things of interest is the military abductions, and that how the secret government is regularly abducts people, and for different uses, and includes involving them in mind control programs, genetic research projects, and even the use of some people for remote viewing and assassination purposes. It's kind of interesting because there's been a number of reports from people who've been abducted, besides seeing the Greys. The Greys which perform the procedure, and the larger Greys, which are actually in charge, that they've also seen U.S. military people in uniforms.
Yeah.
Which has always been very interesting.
Yeah.
And I have a theory that the actual alien abductions, for some reason, has really curtailed after maybe, I would say, Betty and Barney abduction.
Oh.
Oh, what is their last name? Betty and Barney.
Barney Hill.
Barney Hill, yeah.
Yeah.
And I came across some information on that claimed that their abduction was actually military. And there was a good friend of, or an acquaintance, or somebody who made acquaintance with Barney, was high-level military. And Barney was involved in, at that time, the civil rights movement, and involved in a group that the government wanted to get somebody in there to find out what was going on, and they couldn't. And this may have been a way to find out from Barney what was going on, or have some control over him. Maybe wrong, but it's an interesting idea.
Well, you see them on the ships. They're standing right there with the alien, with the Greys in military uniforms. There's several of the abductees that has come out and said that.
And there's been a number of cases where when people have been abducted, there's like government Black Hawk helicopters that show up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and for those of you out there that is watching this, and you start talking to your brother-in-law about the secret space program, and he tells you that you're full of, something that gets stuck to your shoe if you walk through a farmer's field. No, tell that brother-in-law that there's a statement from a U.S. Senator named Gravel, Gravel. He was on a military finance committee, and he were asked about the black projects and the secret space program, and he says, oh yes, he says, we have a space program, a secret space program. It is there. And that was probably, I don't remember exactly how far back, but I think it's 10, 15 years. Long before our real president created the Space Force.
And if they still don't believe that, they can get my book. I cover a
it's
lot of
there.
things in
Okay.
there. And my mind wanders and I get away from things. I had mentioned to you before when we did the Secret Space Force book, how we were talking about the intergalactic spaceships and things like that, and it popped into my head. They were telling me things in my head about submarines, and all of a sudden I started repeating this stuff about submarines when we were talking about spaceships, and it's like, what the hell? What are they talking about? And it's puzzled me. And because it's like so different. But one thing I kind of popped into my head the other day is for years, a lot of these UFOs that we've spotted around find it very easy to go in and out of water. And some of them probably go to, alien bases under the water. And since the Secret Space Force is based on alien technology, our spaceships probably have the same ability to also lie down, act as submarines, and go right into the water. But anyway, that was just
I'm sure of it. Now we're thinking about everything that we have talked about. Maybe this is outside of what you have in this book, but what do you think the mind of the people on Earth is going to feel like or act like when it becomes common knowledge that, yes, there's an alien presence, they're walking around us and we don't even know because they look like us, and the heavens, space is full of life? What do you think Joe Blow and Harry Ho handle is going to be able to handle that?
I'm not sure, but supposedly they claim the government has been keeping all this from us because we can't handle it. But I'm sure we could handle it a lot better. But everything is being manipulated. Like I mentioned earlier, I think most of the aliens are probably the ones that are actually in control here are doing it for our benefit.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, maybe not exactly our benefit. It's probably for their agenda, but we are helped by it.
Yeah, there's different agendas.
Yeah, it kind of gets confusing too, because the government's telling us aliens don't exist, and now they're starting to admit they do exist, but we have to be careful because they are a threat.
Yeah.
I think our government is probably more of a threat to us than they are.
I am totally sure of that.
And I'm sure they're watching over things here, trying to control things. But for some reason, they can't really interfere with what's going on. Although with certain nuclear mishaps and missile bases, they've interfered.
Well, I think that that particular that particular worry about that, I think is taken care of because there are extraterrestrial presence that says they will not allow it to happen. So if that's the rumor out there, I'm going to go with that, and that's what I'm trying to create in my reality.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah, you got a lot of other points there on your book too. Maybe there's some.
Oh, yes, you're right.
Yeah, because this is an ongoing story that is developing and is becoming more and more clear every week. There's more information coming out. And there are hordes of whistleblowers coming out. And there will be a day when this is not going to be possible to deny it. So, in other words, we, you and me, and everybody out there that is talking about this and trying to prove the existence of the problem and the challenge, we are the disclosure. I think disclosure will come from us or from the extraterrestrials themselves. Disclosure.
I did put together a book on the government hearings on disclosure,
Okay.
but I don't accept anything coming from the government as being the truth. They have different reasons for what they come up with, and some of those whistleblowers on there, I'm sure they're going to be face some kind of punishment later.
Yeah,
it's gonna affect them.
Yeah, there is. We are in a world where there is cause and effect. Whatever they are causing, there will be an effect on it from us at one point.
There's one thing that really bothers me is what's going on in this world. Our world's being destroyed. We have shootings, mass shootings are very common now. I don't want to believe it, but it's, I seem to think that maybe the government is encouraging that somehow, in order to for gun control, so they can take over our lives more. And going through the Great Reset, exposed book, just about what's going on here on this planet. Everything is being ruined. Our food, it's all poisoned. Our food, the environment. And I just can't see whoever's in charge of this world, the aliens or whatever they are, allowing this to continue that much longer.
Yeah, and I think though that the ultimate person or entity that gives the order of what's going on this planet comes from off the planet. So, with other words, they are doing something for their agenda. It really looks like Earth is being terraformed for a species that no longer need an environment as we have.
Well, yeah, pretty soon we won't be able to survive on here. I don't know if they'll step in or if that's part of their program. Maybe they don't want to try and save us.
Yeah.
Maybe they just want to leave this as a lesson to what happens when you behave like this and start all over again with a new life, and which has happened a number of times.
Yeah. And things are going to change. I've seen it. It will change. So what we have done to this planet up to now, it will be reversed. And there's no timestamp on that, but I think it's not going to be too far into the future, because in the next few years, there will be a form of cooperation between entities of the planet and our people here. And there is technologies. In fact, we already have the technologies to clean up the whole planet. It's just that it's being kept from us because there is no money in the problem. There is only money in the, there's no money in the solution. There's only money in the problem, because problems last longer. Solutions have done gone, and there's no problem anymore.
That's kind of one of the things that I also covered in this book, that we need to somehow work together and start changing things. It's not going to be easy, and
No.
and show the aliens that we are capable of running things, that we don't need them to control things. We may need their help, but we don't need their interference.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be easy.
I see we are getting down towards the end of the show here, and why don't you let people know again where they can find the books, and mention the title of this one, and also maybe a few of the others that you know that it's been.
Okay, there's so much information in this book, and I'm all of a sudden getting tongue-tied here. Not didn't cover much of it, but just be aware that there's a lot of information in this book. There's a lot of great stuff, and it's called The Great Reset and the Alien Agenda. And it's available on Amazon as well as the rest of my books. And you just go to Amazon and you just enter a search in there for Gil Carlson, Gil, and all my books will show up.
That is good. All right. What are you working on right now for another book?
Do you know, it's been a few months since I've done any writing. I got to the point where I've got all these books out there, and I need to, instead of spending so much time writing, I need to start pushing these books and get them out to more people. There's a lot of people that need to discover these books. So that's what I'm working on, with more advertising and a lot of other programs.
Yeah, people need to know.
Yes, but I do have books I've been writing in my head.
Oh, okay. Yeah, don't lose that. Write down notes and stuff that you can use.
No, they won't let me forget.
Yeah. All right, well then, yeah, I see we're down to the end. So I thank you very much for coming back on with us. And this is always interesting. We'll do this again, and we'll pick another book and talk about that a little bit. And there may be some new developments by then. I expect something to happen very shortly that's going to shake up the whole planet when it comes to the information in relation to what's really going on here. And there's an alien attachment to it. So let's look for that one, because it's going to be very interesting the next several months. So thank you very much, Gil, and then we will.
Thank you, Aage.
See you next time.